Here we go.
G'day fans and welcome to another exciting episode of Rip It Off the Card. And yes, I did forget to press one extra button in the lead into the show, but what can I say? The curfew's driving me nuts. The lockdown's driving me nuts. I haven't seen anybody for 1,000 years except my good friend Mr. Aaron here. How are you today, sir?
Good, mate. How are you going? Surviving lockdown now the Paralympics are over?
Oh, I tell you what, I've got nothing to watch now. I tell you what, like the TV's now switched off during the daytime and I'm sitting there twiddling thingies and it's just like hanging out for the next episode. What can I say? It's like I'm chomping at the bit, mate. What can I? It's all very, very, very cool. Here's one for you. Now, I know your store's still shut at the moment, and I know as it's the broken record scenario. How you sort of coping? Anything to report?
We're just, it's just online sales, but no, nothing's great at the moment, but everybody's in the same boat. So that's where we are. What amazing idea did you have that's going to boost the sales?
Well, it's not going to boost the sales. Well, actually, maybe to a degree. But I thought, hang on, whenever there's a negative thing happening, you've got to think of a positive spin. What would the positive spin be on the fact that your store has been shut for weeks? And I thought about it. I thought, well, it's a collectible store. So you're not like you're selling fruits and vegetables and everything's gone spoiled and you have to throw it all out. You're selling collectibles. And, of course, collectibles appreciate in value with age, right? So you could argue that in the few weeks that the store has been shut, and hopefully it opens up very, very soon, that every single item in that store has actually appreciated in value, even by $1 extra. So your task, yourself and Chad, is to run through the store and just increase the price of everything because the value has increased. There you go.
There you go. I thought you were going to say the benefit of the store being closed was I could walk around in my underwear, but I was going to point out to you that there's security cameras in there, so that wouldn't work.
Tell you what, you could be your own writer if you did that. What do you reckon, eh? So there you go. There's my positive spin on what is effectively a very, very negative situation. So there you go. We've got a whole lot of people joining us. Carol's joined us all the way from Ballarat, and she'll be a very, very happy lady because I think tomorrow night or whatever else, she's in the regions and they get out of lockdown so they can run around and do very, very exciting things, which is very, very cool to see.
Luke's up past his bedtime again.
Yes, he is actually. Good old Luke. It's very funny because you've got Luke, Joel, and I think even Jess like in the same household at the moment, probably in different rooms, might even be sitting next to each other thinking who's got the best looking image of us on their screens currently.
You know what?
Here we go. Cheese Noodle has joined us from good old Twitch. Good to see someone from Twitch joining us, which is fantastic. I think it's Jared joining us. Sorry, I cut you off. What did you want to say?
I was going to say I'm happy to take the extra numbers through different accounts in the same house.
Very, very cool. Yes, Carol said she can go back to work. And Luke is on holidays. Mate, when everybody's homeschooled at the moment, how can you tell the difference between being on holidays and like doing schoolwork? Everything's exactly the same. So
I got an interesting letter today. Carl's doing homeschool and he got a letter about his NAPLAN and he got a certificate of excellence, not from the school, but from the state. And I was like, all those times I pulled him out of school to see movie premieres and kept him up all night to go to midnight openings to buy Star Wars, and he's rejected all that and he's doing well at school. I'm a bad father.
You are indeed, eh? There you go. It's got old Dicko's birthday tomorrow. Nothing better than having another ring around your trunk when you're a Dicko. So make of that what you will.
Dicko, come into the shop tomorrow, and I'll work out a birthday present for you. I probably won't open the door, but there you go.
I did hear a rumor, Dicko, if it helps you at all, that Aaron was saying he's going to run around in his underwear at some point. So yeah,
that was the birthday present.
Yeah, there's a gift you want wrapped. Pull it has the bow, and you just get to pull the Anyway, that's just badly. All right, let's move on. You bring this upon yourself. Oh my God! Remember, I'm in lockdown, mate. I'm allowed to go stir crazy here. So yes, very good. So there was a comment about Michelle. She's not feeling too flash. Staying away, just awake from a nap for next dose of pain relief. Oh, I tell you what, you've come to the wrong place if you want pain relief because we'll just increase your pain. So there you go. And apparently Cheese Noodle said I've got to check out a channel. Oh, very, very cool. All right, we'll see how we go. I like Batman from last week. Will I like Batman this week? That's another question. But let's get into it, shall we? Very, very, very cool. So what have we got to yap about tonight, Mr. Aaron?
There's a few cool things that I've seen around this week. What are we up? What's the first slide we've got up and coming tonight? Is it Is it the Ninja Turtle stuff?
Well, if you stop talking, I'll answer the question. Laughter is the best medicine. Why are you coming here? It's like we will cause pain and discomfort is what we do. So, yes, anyway, let's move on. Yes, here we go. Look at this. Woo, very good.
Okay, we sometimes report on the Lego Ideas website, which is one of those official Lego sites where you can upload your own creations and then people vote on them. And if you get 10,000 votes, Lego actually look at making them for real. And they've just started doing the deciding of what are going to be the fan-made sets for this quarter. And there's 57 sets that made it to the 10,000 votes, but I've just pulled out the pop culture ones so we could have a bit of a look at what we could be getting. So someone's done a really cool A-Team van with the A-Team, and it opens and it's got all this stuff inside. And someone has also done the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine, which I really love, and it's got all the interior stuff, including food and Scooby snacks and ghost hunting stuff, except I'm a bit disappointed they didn't include any action figures with it. What do you think of those, Dags? You're a bit of a A-Team van person or Mystery Machine?
I've got to say, both of them look pretty spectacular. And part of my brain is thinking, build both of them and then do a stress impact test to see which one is the stronger of the two. A bit of a demolition derby, if you don't mind, umpire.
Well, you could put the figures from the A-Team in the Mystery Machine, and then you'd have Mr. T saying, "I pity the fool who got away with it with those meddling kids and that stupid dog."
Well, when you build the A-Team van and you finally put the last piece in, that's when you've got to say, "Oh, I love it when a plan comes together." So, but no, that is, very, very spectacular. Yeah, it's mainly the pictures than anything else. I mean, I don't know if they have to manufacture brand new bricks for this or whether they can just use existing ones. But the fact that you got all these smooth edges. I mean, in the old days, Lego was always very, very bumpy at the top because of the nature of the plastic. But you swear that these were like proper normal model kits or something. So, very, very cool.
They use all existing bricks, but I think you're allowed to make up stickers. So there are some stickers and decals that are new. This is the Michael Knight Kit and Flag Mobile Command Unit. They have done a little Knight Rider before with the Lego computer game, but this is a much nicer version, and it also comes again with the flag, which you can open and put kit in, and comes with all the backup stuff plus the full lot of the cast from Knight Rider. So I thought that was another cool one that they've never done anything that size in Lego before.
So there's a whole conversation going on here with everybody else talking about other stuff besides us, which is I completely understand. So apparently Michelle had some dental work done, right? So it's actually laughing. That's probably why you came here, because there's nothing to laugh about here. I got to tell you that. We're about as boring as they come. And I like this comment. It's like this thing, the whole about the A-Team van is sick. Who came up with that phrase in the first place? It was like, mate, tell you what, you might lose your lunch in it if it's driving around a bit too fast. But oh my goodness gracious, man, that's insane.
It's funny when you put emphasis on a word. When you say the A-Team van is sick, it sounds cool. But if you say Michelle's at home sick, that sounds not so great.
I love this is actually very, very clever. So Luke in one bedroom and said, "Dad, I want that kit," to Joel, who's in another bedroom in the same house. Absolutely insane. No, I got to say, this looks great. It looks really, really cool. It's the kind of thing you could say, why didn't they think of this stuff bloody ages ago instead of today? But if they did market half this stuff, yeah, right, it would sell like hotcakes. So, yes, I see sick every day. I love it. Very, very cool. Yeah, love it.
And this is probably my favourite sets from the submission. I really hope these ones get made. You've got the Spaceballs set, which I don't think stands a chance just because of the licensing agreement for Spaceballs merchandise. But still, you've got the Spaceballs Flying Winnebago, but you've got a really excellent Darth helmet with a reversible head, so you can have his helmet up or his helmet down. You've got Yogurt and Bath and Lone Star and Princess Vespa. So that's a very cool set. And inside the Winnebago, there's actually bottles of oxygen, which is a pretty cool detail to go with. And the other set, which I think is really nice because it's a ship instead of a car, is the Jaws set, where you get Jaws and you get the characters from Jaws and a really great version of the little boat. And I think both of those sets, if they came out, I would definitely buy.
Yeah, as I pointed out earlier, Spaceballs, it's just perfect, isn't it, really? I mean, you can't knock that at all. And you're right. Where's Pizza the Hut? Yes, I reckon that's a very good question. So very, very cool. Yeah, one for the bathroom, Mr. Vile. Yeah, very, very groovy. What I like is you can get Bruce, your shark, right, and you get your Quint. Right, and because the jaw moves on the shark, you just get him to chomp down on poor old Quint. And even though, like, Lego figures have the smiley faces, right? So he's actually happy he's getting chewed on, and put some tomato sauce in there, and the blood's pissing out everywhere. You go, come on! You say to your son, you say, come on, keep chomping. Make it worth your while. So,
and if you want to recreate the end of the movie, you just put a little oxygen canister in his mouth, and then throw Jaws at the wall as hard as you can.
Oh, how good would that be? There'd be Lego bits everywhere. That is, I do like that theory. Absolutely. Put some firecrackers in there and just go completely troppo. Very, very cool. Anyway, that's enough for the qualifying submissions. So do you think any of these will become reality?
Usually there's about 57, maybe only a couple of those will become reality. Because the licensed ones obviously cost Lego more or might be harder to make, a lot of the really cool licensed ones don't get produced. They just say we couldn't make them or they weren't what Lego wanted to do. Stuff like Jaws is interesting because Lego don't like to do any violent licenses. So it's a very cool set, but like, kids get a Jaws set and they go, we want to watch Jaws, and it's a movie that young kids can't watch, so sometimes Lego do avoid that. That said, Lego have done some really amazing stuff, and all of those sets I think are worthy, so good luck to the people who submitted them. If any of those come out, I will probably buy them.
Oh, yeah. That's probably a no-brainer. I like this from the other show me the way to go home. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. By the end of this episode, you'll be definitely wanting to do that. There's no denying that. Very, very cool. What was it? Comment here. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Oh, wrong one. Anne just said the Mystery Machine was already done. I assume that was probably done by an individual rather than an official set. So don't forget, when you buy these official sets, you probably would never want to take them out of the boxes. So
I do have the older Mystery Machine sitting around somewhere. I don't know where I've put it, but
okay.
This is a larger one, more accurate. But the old Lego Scooby-Doo set was good, and so they have the license for Scooby-Doo, so it could get made.
Very, very cool. So that was actually quite groovy. Now, the next lot of images I've got to show you, this is a classic example of merging two genres together, which I think is complete and utter tripe. It's just done for the money, but somebody out there is going to love it. So what do we got?
Here we go. We've got the Ninja Turtle crossover with Cobra Kai Karate Kid, which is one of those no-brainers, obviously. What you've got to do is have a friend who collects turtles and a friend that collects Karate Kid memorabilia. You buy the sets, you open them, you split them up, and everyone takes 50-50, and well done. This is obviously from Cobra Kai, so it's got the newer versions of the figures from the TV show. The turtles, I don't know where they've got. I don't know on toys like the turtles when they put real material on them if they look that great. So they've obviously gone to put the geese on them the same as the figures, but they look a bit cheap. I'd rather just see the turtle with the turtle shell, actually. But that said, you don't really see a lot of Cobra Kai or Karate Kid merchandise, and if anyone's been waiting since the 80s to expand their collection, this is the first thing they've done in 30, 40 years.
I've just misread a comment because of my eyesight, and it's all blurry and late at night. Thomas has said his wine is safe in his hand until the vial, then it goes aside. I thought you said it was your wife. So his wife is in his hand, and it's safe in his hand until the vial file. I go, what? And sorry, I misread that. But
many wives run outside when they see the vial.
This is complete stupidity. Yeah, it's just like, why? Just because there's a martial art element between them, it just makes no sense. I reckon, just massive cash in. It's just
sometimes it works. When we showed, they were doing the Transformers version of the Ecto one and the DeLorean. I kind of think that kind of makes more sense than mashing up the Ninja Turtles with Cobra Kai. But obviously, some people, what I think will happen, will buy them because they want to take all the Cobra Kai figures out, and then there'll be the turtles sold separately on eBay, or people will want the turtles and then all the Cobra Kai figures will turn up on eBay. So we'll see what happens with these.
That will happen in your store. You'll take them all out of their boxes, the turtles in one section, the Cobra Kai in another section, and never the twain shall meet. Exactly. All right, so that's enough of the news. It's all very good and exciting, but we need to sort of carry on with something we started last week, and it's time for a bit of this. Yes,
Greg
King's cheaper things. How good is that? I don't think even Greg's here at the moment, is he? So if you're Greg, stick your hand up and make sure you let us know that you're present.
He's so cheap he can't even turn up for his own segment.
That's funny.
It's
Very,
lucky
very
we
good.
can go
I
ahead
missed all
and
his
do this
messages.
without him. Oh, look, he's here. He's raised his head there.
Very, very good. All right, so what are we upping on about with the cheaper things? I know you started this last week, but what's going on?
Well, last week we started by buying the Transformer mystery box. This week, Greg has dug around on Facebook and found something that's even better value, I think. This is a full-size, professionally made and professionally painted one-to-one scale Commander Cody mask. Now, the company that's selling all of these doesn't just have Commander Cody. You can see across the top they have a whole range of different Star Wars masks, from the new, like the Mandalorian there, to the vintage, like Darth Vader. Now, I flicked through them all. Well, Greg and I flicked through them all, and we decided that Commander Cody probably was the best looking one of all. And we were so lucky because Greg found this when they were $300 with 80% off. So $37 to order one of these full-size prop replica, professionally remade clone helmets. And that's a price that I couldn't pass up on. What do you think of that, Dags?
Just got dodgy written all over it, hasn't it? I mean, in the end, you'd have to assume or ask yourself, did it ever sell ever at the retail price of the 300 and whatever, or someone just made that one up? Yes.
Look, if you were looking at a prop replica clone helmet to the standard and level of detail that they're saying that it is, I think it would be probably retailing about $299. So that's true. Whether these are officially done, whether they're the quality that they show, and whether one actually rocks up, that's a whole different story. So what have we done? We've ordered one. So we've got, you can see there, it came in at $44 US. So I don't know, that was about
$60.
$60, yeah, something like that. And if that turns up, that is a great Greg King's Cheaper Things item that I think is fantastic value. And I have to thank Greg for digging all these things up for us to purchase. So far, though, nothing's rocked up.
Not only that, but when it does turn up, you'll stick it in the store and put the original $230 back on it. Why? Because you're a scurvy dog. So there you go.
Well, I was thinking if we get some stuff for Christmas, we could do a giveaway on the show or something like that. But if you want to put them in the short store and sell them, that works for me as well.
Can you imagine you say, oh, we're going to give this helmet away as a special gift for anybody watching the show, knowing fully well that you paid like $50 for it when it was originally at $300, and you think it's cheap shit. It's a Greg King cheaper thing. Oh, we're going to give it to someone as a gift. Absolutely love it.
That's like, it's like the rip it off the card, Kris Kringle. Now, I asked Greg to keep track of what we're actually buying, how much we're paying for it, when we bought it, and when it actually turns up. And he came back to me with this very, very professional table of thrift. He's put a lot of work into this, I can see. So far, the items, we've got the Transformer mystery box, and we've got the Clone Trooper helmet. We got one, we sent off one on the 28th and the other one on the 3rd. And so far, in Australian dollars, we're about $108 or $109 into this with nothing to show so far. So there's nothing in the arrival dates and there's nothing in the ratings. Greg will be rating like the value of them when they actually turn up. So that's it for the segment. This will obviously get a lot more exciting when I get some boxes and we can open them live on the show to show our amazing reactions to either being a fantastic item, or I'm more leaning towards like being quite disappointed or having like a box of crap or nothing like the pictures that we're seeing online. But that's where we are so far. So we'll be coming back to this every week, ordering more and more cheap stuff, adding to the table of thrift and seeing what it actually gets us.
Wouldn't it be funny if they worked on the assumption that you'll never take it out of the box and the box has actually got like stocking filler or something? I like this comment from Joe. $60 at 30 weeks worth of segments. Oh my God, 30 freaking weeks of us. Holy guacamole. Greg, you thought these were for you, are you? There you go. I don't think so, son. These are going into Aaron's Collectibles when the store eventually opens. So I like this one from Jared. Greg Kings doesn't get things. Absolutely love it. Now, we're going to move on. So Thomas mentioned earlier about his wine, not his wife, being in his hand. So time to lose your load there, son, because guess what? It's time for the Vile File. How good is this? So what do we
Here we go. the Sith Lord has really gone out of his way this time. He's following on a theme from last week. Everyone kind of thought it was funny seeing the Spider-Man balloon. So he's gone with the theme. There ain't no party like a Sith Lord party, and we've sent him out to the party supply stores to see if there's anything there that he could violate. And he's come back with a full truckload of balloons and stuff to show us.
And the problem with places like this that sell this stuff, they always tend to inflate their prices. I was going to say, if this was a Sith party, every one of those balloons would have to be red. But anyway, let's not muck around. We sort of get some. Let's blow some hot air, shall we?
Here we go. So first up, there's either a Godzilla there or maybe a T-Rex or dinosaur. That's his Jurassic Park showing, I think. That's one of those that when Alan Grant is trying to get the kids not to look, you understand why. Again, it's one of those misplacements of where the actual balloon is inflated.
Well, don't forget, dinosaurs and bones kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
Yes, that's true. The other thing we've got there is one of those, he's going all out on his Sith party and he's hiring a bouncy castle. And it's a pirate bouncy castle. And as you can see, that Buccaneer's sword is at half mast. And by having it like that, it's not looking like a kiddie-friendly bouncy party. I think
someone's very happy about that party.
I think if Lord Vile and his gruesome sidekick Boba Fett were sitting in there waiting for kids, you could just about expect that, couldn't you?
I love this one from Pirate John Holmes. Hang on, I can't actually read the things properly. Captain Feathers.
Oh, dear.
Wait till you see what the entry fee is.
That's the notoriously banned Wiggles episode.
Tell you what, the wine is out of reach, but not the wife. What can I say? Oh my goodness gracious! Could it get any worse from that?
Well, unfortunately, it can, because taking a page out of Spider-Man's books last week, Disney has obviously gone with a lot of other inappropriate placing of nozzles, tubes, and hoses. You can see at the top there's one of those hammers you could get at the show, the inflatable ones that came in show bags. And there was one in the Wolverine show bag, and you blew it up from the end. But unfortunately, I mean, that has got to be, whoever designed that has got to have done that on purpose. Look where the air nozzle is, right on Wolverine's crotch. And no matter what angle you look at it from, it looks bad. In fact, if you turn it sideways, it looks worse. But I don't know. Does he have an adamantium nozzle? I'm not sure. But
oh dear.
But even worse, I think, is Baymax from Big Hero 6, because that is even sort of more of a kid's cartoon. What were they thinking when they designed that?
Oh dear, I just can't. I can't focus at the moment. I'm just thinking. I've got all these images. There's a lot of things I just can't say. So, but yeah, that's just you got to. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, does it? So,
even if that was helium and you tied a string to it and walked it round, it'd look even worse.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Someone somewhere approved that, and they had to be laughing when they were letting that go through.
Very, very cool, unbelievable. But that's not the end of it.
Now, I thought we could get away from all the rude stuff and have a look at something that the Vile could hire for a party and wouldn't be at all sus at all. So we're looking at Pikachu, because surely the Japanese are not going to make the same mistake as Disney. First up, we've got this Pikachu ride-on kid's toy down in the bottom left-hand corner there. And I've got to say, it looks like a possessed by Satan kind of ride. If you put your kid on that, that's the kind of picture you take on Facebook, where you've got Pikachu and your kid screaming his head off because he wants to get away from the Pikachu that's going to eat him. But more disturbing than that, we've got the inflatable Pikachu up the top there, but that pales into comparison. Those are Pikachu jumping castles. And the way to get into the castle is a slit at the front of Pikachu's belly. So basically, it's like a reverse Japanese Pokemon birthing ritual where all these little kids are crawling into Pikachu to jump around inside his tummy.
Yes. Yes. That is, little kids probably wouldn't put two and two together, but some adults would be thinking, geez, I mean, they probably looked at it and think, where are we going to put the entrance? They're going to put it somewhere. So,
Well, do you know what? They actually got complaints about this, so they changed it to something else, which of course couldn't look any worse, could it? So they got rid of the slit in Pikachu's stomach, I guess, between his legs, and they changed it to like a big pink ring. So if we go to the next slide, now that doesn't look any worse, does it? So that's Pikachu semi-inflated as they get ready for the jumping castle to begin. But here's all the things that the Vile has got happening at his Sith party. We've got Disney with the abnormally large appendages. We've got like a very cheerful T-Rex or Godzilla. We've got inappropriate Pikachu. We've got rampant Wolverine. And we've got, as someone said, Captain Feathersword at half-mast. So I think all those items have been investigated and well and truly violated.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this one. There was a... You're right, Jess. Could have just made the entrance through his foot, couldn't they? But yes, it was never going to end well, no matter how you look at it. Oh my God, that's just bloody hell.
So I think again, the Vile hasn't let us down with the bunch of stuff he's found this week for sure.
Very, very, very cool. You are right, Mark. That is one big party, though, and everyone's invited. So there you go. Lucas said, this is vile. Absolutely, it's vile. That's what the segment is all about. And if you told people you saw these things, nobody would believe it. But, you know, these things do exist in real life. So there you go. All right. So because we had Greg King's cheaper things, we're obviously going to be running a little bit late like we did last week, the 2-hour show. So so we are running a tad behind, but let's not wait any longer. It's time for this. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's like? All right, get your prices ready. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, we've got the double dose of Batman because we've got the Batman themed show. So last week we looked at Batman merchandise. We are going back to the well and looking at Batman merchandise again and seeing another bunch of Batman memorabilia. And is it gone up in value, or is it going to go in Greg King's cheaper things?
I like this one. So Luke's ready to rock and roll because he can stay up late because he's on holidays. And regarding the inflatables, I like this one from the Vile, better front than the back because, you know, talking a small thermal exhaust ports, don't forget they are right below the main port. So
well, if you're talking Star Wars quotes, get down there. I don't care what you smell.
Don't start that. All right, that is the worst thing you can do.
Sorry, children.
Oh, my God. Look at the size of that thing. All right, so, and Phil said, yeah, he's out vile himself. Yes, well, there's always more vials to come. Don't worry about that. There's never too much vile. All right, so we're on to the Batman stuff as always. And if you haven't done this before, just give us the prices of what you think these items sold for. What have we got?
This is a very nice, I think it's G-Con, G-Convention exclusive Batmobile. I think it is a Mexican convention exclusive. I actually like this one. It's a red Batmobile. It's a Hot Wheels. It's Batman. So it crosses across a lot of different collecting genres. People collect Batman. People collect cars. This is based on the 66 version. So a subset of people collect that. How much do you think you could pick this up for?
Very, very good. Yes, Mexican of all things here. Yeah, very, very. That's something a little bit left field, eh? All right, so what do people think this item sold for? So hang on, Jared said 65. Joel's at 179. Jess is at 150. Hang on, whoa, the screen just moved. Sorry, hang on, I've just lost where I am. Jess said 150. Glenn, good to see Glenn joining us from last week on YouTube. He's about our only YouTube view at the moment, but yes, good to see you again, Mr. Glenn. Carol's at 350. Dave's at 60. We've got Spankin. All right, Mark's at 250. Gavin's at 243. Angel's giving me all these ones. And Natasha and her little dude is at 260. 400 for William. Luke is at 300. Thomas at 2200. 2200. I like this one from Jared. Yeah, I think you want 100 pairs. Very, very good. That's a lot of nachos. Phil for $100. Rob's at 55. Mick, good to see Mick joining us tonight, is at 80. Adrian's at 400. Colin is at 85. and violating the Batmobile is at $66. Very, 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 very cool. So yes, Hot Wheels RLC Mexico convention. Who would have thought they had conventions down in Mexico? But yeah, good on them. TV series Batmobile red. It's a red one, not a black one. So there you go. What do you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $210. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those. You've got Batmobiles and Hot Toys that are probably worth about $10, but you can only get it in one place for one weekend, and then there's enough international interest to pump that price right up. And again, something like that in Australia is unusual. I think you might see them coming out of Mexico or the US, but you don't see a lot of that stuff locally.
Here's a funny one, right? So Mark had said $250, but Gavin came in at $243, $7 cheaper, and I reckon Gavin's got it. He just he actually gets some change as well, gets $33 back, which is very, 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 very cool. I like this wowzers. I love it. Yes, very, very good. All right, we move on.
Oh. This is interesting. Spankin will have a good idea of what this is worth. This is an Australian 60s poster. It's a day bill. We have a unique size, which is sort of long and thin, but smaller than the one sheets. This is from the 66 movie again. This is quite a hard poster to find. You don't see this around very much at all, and the Australian one really doesn't come up. The negatives to this is it's a bit dog-eared and a bit ratty around the edges. There's some tears and rips, but it's still nice. And if you got it framed up or something, it'd look a lot better than this. Is this trash or is this treasure?
Yes, some days you just can't get rid of a poster. Excuse me. One day I'll tell you the story about me trying to buy the one-sheet version of this at an auction, a professional poster auction, where I had my $50. I might as well tell you the story. I had my $50 card. I waited like 2 hours for it to come up, and I thought, I'm ready to go. And the moment they started, reserve price was at $50, and before I even had my card in the air, I got completely outbid. Didn't even get to hold my card up once. I was like, oh, how disgraceful was that? All right, Spankin himself has popped up for $1,200. Jess is at $1,890. Joel's at $1,780. Jared is at $135. Carol's at $400. Natasha and the little dude are $1,100. Gavin's at $412. Dave's at $1,475. Batbucks, I like that. Adrian's at $1,891. That's an unusual one. Colin's at $225. Phil's at $100. William's at $750. Angie's giving me all the ones again. Mick is at $450. Luke is at $1,000. Hang on, Luke's at $1,000. Rob's at $950. Mark's at $500. Joe is at $340. Thomas is at $1,650. And violating the Batman poster is at violating it at 1,500 tacos. I love that. Very, very, very cool. If it's a day bill poster, it'll be worth a lot of money, you would think, to American fans, because obviously day bills weren't that common over there, and it is the Australian release. So so that alone could have pushed the price up, but did it? And the answer to this question is not as much as you think.
I actually think that's a good price for that poster. That's a hard poster to find. I would have thought it would have gone for more than that. Maybe the damage on the edge isn't shown as well as in some of the other pictures, but that's a very hard poster to find. I've only ever seen a couple of them for sale ever, and I saw one back about 20 years ago at a Camberwell Record Fair, and it was $2,000 back then.
Yeah, I'm having a sticky beak. I think William may have it at $750. No one's really close. Some people went way over the top. Hang on. Mark is at $500. He's $100 off. So I'd say Mark at this stage without having to dig too deep. So there you go. And I agree, Jess. Yeah, I think it was a bargain as well. But yeah, the damage may have had something to do with it. And Spankin.
I agree with Cheese Noodle, Biff Band Pow.
I love that. Oh, yeah, absolutely love it. Very, very cool. All right, we move on. Oh, my God, look at this.
Now, this is an unusual piece. I had never actually seen this piece before. Like with eBay, you see stuff you've never seen before all the time. But this is Batman in a Batmobile. It's a Japanese version, but it looks more like a Formula One race car than a Batmobile. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's one of those cases where they've probably taken an existing car, taken the race car driver head out and whacked a Batman head on and said, it's the Batmobile. So this is from the 60s, so I guess it is an older piece. This could go for quite a bit, couldn't it, Dags? You'd want that in your collection.
You know what? I would have bought it if it was cheap and I had to come across it. Yeah, I probably would have got sucked into it. And it says rare at the top, probably because whoever did it was just a one-off. And it has the original battery. Oh, mate, have a bit of fun, sort of like getting the steel wall on those contacts to try and get rid of the, what do you call it, the mildew that builds up on battery contacts. So, Yes, very, very cool. All right, we move on. What do we got? Surprised by that tinto. All right, Natasha said 4,000. Oh, bloody hell! You have to sell your little dude to buy that. 1,500 for back. Hang on, sorry for Mark. Yep. Joel's at 1,899. Sorry, the screen's moving too quick. I can't keep up. Okay, 40 for Colin. Jared's at 975. Adrian's at 1,700. Jess is at 600. Gavin's at 54. It's got a bat symbol on the side, has it? Oh, yeah, as bad as dodgy as they come. Ange has given me all the fours. Spanker's at 350. Oh, Carol's keen on this one for 2,600. Luca's at 2,500. Williams at 2,200. A lot of money in this, isn't there? $1,000 for Phil. 750 for Thomas. Mick is at 500. Glenn, good on you, Glenn, joining us. Absolutely fantastic from YouTube at 600. And Rob is at 950. So based on this, either it'll go for absolutely nothing or it'll go for this ridiculous price. And as you said, that, yeah, someone just stuck the Batman head on it and drawn the little logo on the side, and people have thought, oh, got to have that.
The logo is so small, it might as well be the ABC logo.
Yeah, it's right there for those who are looking for it. And, of course, you've got to violate a Batmobile at $350. Absolutely. Oh, Carol loves it. Oh, that is freaking awesome. Oh, geez. Oh, settle down, Carol. Maybe you people in Ballarat might see these things a bit more differently for us city folk. But anyway, so what do you reckon it went for? The Batmobile in Japan, tin plate 1960s, rare. It even says Robin Joker vintage original battery. It went for a whopping $450. What's the deal with that?
You go. I don't. From some of the prices here, a lot of people think that's a good price, but then Greg King, I reckon $2. So that's a bad price. But $450 for a unique, 60s tin toy ain't so bad if you collect Batman. I do have like a theory though that someone's got an old car and just whacked Batman head on it.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Ange, who just invents these numbers and pulls them out of his furry one, has got this one and he's only got $6 to go. How good is that? Yes, and I agree with you, Greg. $2. Yeah, you're right. It's age. That'd be the thing. Funnily enough, some people who are car collectors would look at the car and go, you know what, the car's worth a lot. Take the Batman head off, and it looks exactly like it was its original version. So there's that way of looking at it as well, rather than looking from the Batman perspective. So, so that's what I was saying. Japanese tin toys are worth a few bucks. So there you go. Very, very cool. All right, despite its ugliness, it's a bit like us two, dude. We're pretty hard on the eye. So maybe we'd be worth a few bucks in the future.
I think
next item.
I think my wife would like to take the head off and put the original one back on, and I'd go up in value as well. So,
but would you still be mint in box? All right, let's move on, shall we?
So here we have, this is one of the subjects we're going to be looking at tonight. This is the Batman Forever Batmobile, which was a redesign of the Batmobile. Some people loved it. Some people weren't so hot on it. This had the internal lighting, so it glows and lights up, and they've done that on the toy as well. Quite hard to get with the original box in good condition. These are getting quite old now. I mean, Batman Forever was back in the 90s, so you don't see a lot of them around. How much would you expect to pay? Sometime we've had this in the shop, haven't we, Dags?
A loose one, yeah, we have. Yeah. I've actually got a shampoo bottle that's exactly the same shape as this, and I'm not used to seeing these things out of boxes. So when Aaron has asked me, can I reassemble all the bits? I go, no, I've never seen it out of the box. I've got no idea what it looks like. So yes, indeed. Where are we? All right. Okay, Jared's at 50. Oh, Jared, you're killing me already, dude, because I've got one of these. Joel's at 700. Jess is at 25. Adrian's at 701. Geez, Noodles just said horrible. I know the car itself was complete tripe, but it is what it is. 500 for Phil. Angie's giving me all the twos. Spanker's at 130. Natasha and the little dude is at 275. Luke's at 900. Williams at 800. If you guys who are chucking these gigantic prices want to buy one, I've got one to tell you. Mick is at 100. Carol's at 360. Mark is at 220. I don't want to talk to Mark anymore. Rob is at 250. Colin's 255. Where are we? Gavin is at 476, and Tom is at 2,500. Suddenly, Thomas is my best friend. So there you go. And Dave is at 73 cents.
73 cents.
Oh my God, you're killing me. 73 cents. Imagine it went for that. That'd be just disgusting. Glenn has said 500, and yes, so there you go. Rod's having problems with the internet. Well, when we're on the screen, I'm not surprised. Even the NBN can't handle having us around. So there you go. Rod has said 50. Hang on, so say $50 here, $50. And I was waiting for the vial. Got to violate a Batmobile at $200 fluoro dollars. Yes, I like the fact that Batman says, "Hey, I'm supposed to be the Dark Knight, but I'm going to drive around this bloody car with neon signs saying, 'Here I am.'" All right, so what do you reckon it went for? Batman Forever electronic Batmobile down at it might be rare, but it's actually out of the box because you can see from the photograph. It went for a whopping $81. Oh, mate, you're killing me.
So I actually think that's about spot on the money. For a loose boxed one, I'd probably put about $99 on it, and someone would come in and go, "I'll give you $80 for that," and I'd go, "Done." So that's about right. So it's one of those Batmobiles. If you grew up with it as a kid, you kind of like it and you're into it. But it's one of those Batmobiles not a lot of people collect. They love the Tim Burton version. They love the animated version. They love the 60s one. But everything else, every other one is kind of take it or leave it for a lot of collectors.
I'm going with Thomas on this one because I've got one of these to sell, so I'm going to go $2,500. So there you go. How good is that,
So
Jared? The worst Batmobile? No, that was the one that came after this one. So yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go with Dave on this one at 73 cents because I want to buy your collection.
Yeah, well, that's just yes. That was a very, very clever line. Holy rusted metal. Yes, yes, indeed. If there was one good thing about that movie, it was that line, which was very, very clever. But yeah, there you go. All right, we move on. Lucky last. What do we got?
Now this is interesting because you could get a bargain here because you've got an original Corgi's Batmobile. And what's unusual about this, it still has the Batman and Robin in, which are always missing from the Corgi Batmobile, and it's the original one. And it's been bundled up with a bunch of crap cars that if you're a Batman collector, you might miss it because you're looking for Batman stuff and you just see a bunch of old cars and you don't get this one. Has got Batman in the title, though, so if you're looking for Batman, you will find it in Batmobile. The Corgi Batmobile probably is the biggest selling Batmobile ever. They produced this from the 60s right through to the 80s, and there's reissues and different versions, and people are after the ones with the red rims on the tires and things like that. They generally turn up in worse condition than this and missing bits. What would you expect to pay?
I love the fact that it says Husky Toys. So you can't just say Husky Toys. You're going to go, Husky Toys. Give it the real Kim Carnes version, you know. All right, so let me have a look. Oh, the screen's just moved way too quick. Okay, Joel has kicked off with 1,800. Andrew said 22. That's a massive difference.
That's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. $50 for Mark. Natasha and the little dude is at 60, and Jess is not sure. 400 for Rod. Good to see Rod joining us again. 45 for Jared. Jess has finally said 654. Carol's at 120. Gavin's at 20. Now this is the Matchbox size, dude. It's only about that big. Okay, so it's the standard Corgi issue car. $70 for Thomas. 60 for Mick. Robert's at 75. Luke is at 900. Williams at 175. Colin is at 100. Phil's at 500. Adrian's at 150. Good old Cheese Noodles at 101. Glenn is at 700. And Spankin is at 250. And I'm just waiting to see if the buyer's going to stick his nose in. I would think they're old and here we go. Is Vile 1966. Very good, Mr. Vile. I love your sense of humor. No wonder you have a file named after you. I would think that these would actually, off the top of my head, go for a fair bit, not because of the Batmobile, but because of the other cars. All right, there might be something sort of hiding in the background that people will go, oh, I'll pay a lot of money for that. So, but I do agree with you. Having the two figures on board the car is actually very, very important. All right, so, and plus you've got a Batmobile and more, and you get a whole lot of them. They're old, they're vintage, and they're broken, and the price is friggin' hell.
Now that is a good price for that lot.
That's we had a Batmobile.
We had that Batmobile in worse condition, and I had it in the shop for $99, and someone grabbed it right away. So, getting that lot of toys for $18 is a steal, but it shows you can still get a bargain on eBay if you are hunting for it, and Greg King hasn't already bought it before you.
That kills me, doesn't it? That is a dagger in the heart, isn't it? So Gavin got that at 20, so it's on its way to Sydney. So and he gets $2 back as well. So yeah, that's just not good at all. So yes, exactly right. Very, very good.
So stuff. we had one more eBay item. Were we going to show it or not? Yes, go with it?
Yeah, I got it here. Yep. Do you want to announce what it is first before we? Sorry. So we're just going to show you an eBay item out there. There's no bidding on this. We're actually going to show you the price, but it actually refers directly to something we discussed last week. So you can do the intro.
So last week we were talking about the comics that had no covers, and they still went for $20,000, even though the covers were ripped off. And I said I had seen partial pieces of pages sold on eBay because they were slabbed, and a tiny bit of a cover from I think it was Superman issue 1 went for hundreds of dollars. Now, while I was looking for the Batman stuff this week, I found these that sold on eBay. These are just pages. So someone has sent a single page in to get slabbed and graded. They don't come back with a grade because they're below grading, just one page, but they are authenticated as an official page from that comic. Now, these are 4 pages from Captain America issue 1. So they're just the individual page that has been ripped out. They've been slabbed and put on eBay, and they sold for $3,000 for 4 pages. That's just crazy. So I thought after our discussion last week, when this turned up, I thought, oh, we'll bring this back up and show everyone because, if you've got a mint Captain America issue 1, do not tear all the pages out and sell them individually. But it does show you if you find something in destroyed condition or it's half water damaged and stuck together, you can still salvage some of the pages, and they can still be worth a fortune.
So just quickly, off the top of your head, do you know when these would have been released? 19 what?
Yeah, this is the pre-Marvel Captain America. I think this was back in, I think the original Captain America came out in the 40s for World War II. So this is the pre-Marvel.
All right. So because the reason why I brought this up, sorry, what?
The current Marvel, they came back in the 60s, but
these pages, when would they have come out, do you think?
The 40s.
Very good. So I said to Aaron that you can imagine that whoever's got these, who's paid $3,000 on these, either their kids, well, probably their kids, not necessarily the grandkids, right? In the 40s, when these pages turn 100 years old, that price is going to quadruple, right? Yeah. It's going to go. Imagine that. So if the thing came out in 1942, as in the comics, and these pages are from 1942, and in 2042, whoever bought these for $3,000, and people are laughing and thinking that, as like we're saying, it's crazy and it's mental and it's insane. Suddenly that person's going to be laughing their heads off. So
the other thing I saw this week on a comic book page I follow on Facebook, it's low grade comics. Someone walked into a op shop or a charity shop in America and picked up Batman issue 2 for $2, sitting in a pile of and it looked in amazing condition. So it does happen. Can get stuff cheap, or like that damaged stuff goes for a fortune.
Yeah, and I was more referring to the fact that someone's bought individual pages for $3,000, and we're all saying that's just crazy. But they'll be have the last laugh. You can guarantee that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we must move on now. Last week, of course, we were discussing Batman merchandise. Oh, it's very exciting stuff. The first movie, Batman 1989. And then we had Batman, Batman Returns, which was awesome. The rise and fall. Could it get any better than this? Aaron, over to you, son. Tell me.
Well, I have got to say when the answer's no, but I've got to say when I saw the advance poster for Batman Forever, before the internet, you didn't know exactly what rumors were true and not. No, I guess you still don't now. But when you got the question mark and it was green and it was going to be the Riddler, I thought this is going to be the best thing ever. And I don't know if you remember or were following it at the time. The rumors were that Robin Williams was going to be the Riddler. And I thought that would be absolutely fantastic. The disappointing thing, it was announced pretty quickly that Tommy Lee Jones was going to be Two-Face, which kind of ditched the idea of Billy D. Williams being Two-Face that had been built up with the Tim Burton versions of the movies. And that would have been very cool because he'd been in the movies as that character. So when you can have that kind of backstory going, it's a lot better. But I was still excited because I thought the Riddler's my favorite villain. It's looking pretty cool. We're going to get a new Batman movie because there was a bit of a break. What had happened was McDonald's had crapped themselves over Batman Returns and lost a lot of money and basically said, we want a lighter movie. We want a movie for the whole family, not so dark, not aimed at adults. And so Warner Brothers basically said to Tim Burton, we want you to make another movie, but we don't want it to be like a Tim Burton movie, and we don't want it to be dark, and we want it to have more jokes in, and we want it to be lighter, and we want these characters. And Tim Burton basically said, you don't want me to make a movie, do you? And they said, yeah, we do. We want you to make the movie, but we want you to make our movie, not a Tim Burton movie. So he basically said, no, I'm not going to make it. He's still an executive producer on this movie, and he did do some of the initial designs and setup. But I think from looking at it, you can tell his bones are there, but on top of it, there's like, it's a Frankenstein of other ideas and other people's input. So we were looking at the posters there, and straight away you can see already it's brighter, it's more colourful, it's got more, I guess, kid appeal, because you've got like the zany characters. It's not dark and brooding. It doesn't have the same sort of thoughtful print campaign that Batman and Batman Returns had. Probably the only thing that's similar is they did keep the initial poster where you've got the bat symbol in all four of these movies. So I wasn't hating it when I saw all these posters. I thought it was going to be a good movie. Wasn't sure how Val Kilmer would go as Batman. They had been planning to put Robin in it for a while, and I kind of do like they waited for the third movie because, you know, you can't cram too much into each movie. But I do think this is the first movie where you start to have too many characters, because you've got Batman, you've got Robin, you've got Chase Meridian, then you've got the Riddler, and then you've got Two-Face. And you can see sort of when they do how Two-Face was created, it's shown in a flashback in a scene kind of thing. It doesn't have the same depth and character building that some of the other movies did. But it was still successful. What did you think of it when you saw it, Dags, being a diehard sort of movie Batman fan?
It didn't work for me. The first thing I had to just sort of deal with is the fact that Val Kilmer was Batman, and I didn't really mind that. I thought there were some aspects to it that really worked. Some of the dialogue was dumb. I agree with you. The silliness of it didn't work for me. I didn't like the fact that the Riddler. I mean, there's a comment here about like Jess absolutely really like what Jim Carrey did. I just couldn't handle it. It was just driving me nuts. And the fact they
I guess it is one of those things. If you like Jim Carrey and his characters, you're going to love this. And if you don't like Jim Carrey, you're not going to like it, because he is Jim Carrey being the Riddler. Yeah,
totally agree. And I agree with Spankin. Yeah, it wasn't Tommy Lee Jones's best movie. And the opening sequence when Two-Face appears, it was just silly. It lacked all the seriousness that the original movie had. And like they redesigned things that didn't need to be redesigned. So they redesigned the car. It's like, well, you didn't need to the car was perfect in the first movie. Why change it? There's no need to change it.
Do you know why? Because kids can't buy the new toy version of the Batmobile if they keep it the same. They have to change it. That was one of the things that Kenner really wanted.
No, I accept. I understand the logic behind it, but I mean, from a just purely from one movie to the next movie scenario, the way they introduced Robin, I thought was quite good. But no, I found ultimately the bad guys were just drove me nuts. I thought they were terrible. You look at the characters prior to them. So you had Catwoman and Penguin. Then you mix them up with, say, Riddler and Two-Face. It's like a completely different mindset, and all the seriousness has just gone right out of it.
The thing is, Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face really sort of has the same backstory as the Joker, where he was a normal person, had an accident. The Joker went into acid, and Tommy Lee Jones got half the face acid. But you look at the seriousness that the Joker is given and the gravitas, and then you look at the Tommy Lee Jones version, and it's in a different league.
Yeah, totally agree. And there's a comment here. I think Joe made this about Billy Dee didn't get called back, and of course it was interesting that he was Harvey Dent in the first movie. You go, oh, that's a different sort of take on it. And of course, so there's obviously no continuity between all the movies in that regard. But and I found it was interesting. I heard on the rumor that Tommy Lee and Jim didn't necessarily get along, and Tommy Lee could not stand Jim Carrey.
He actually wanted to punch him out. He had to remove himself from set a couple of times. I think there was a party or something where he said he had to actually leave because he wanted to punch Jim Carrey out. The other thing is Jim Carrey really, really wanted to be the Riddler, and he isn't, in the Warner Brothers stable of actors. And so he was the Riddler, but then he wasn't allowed to do any advertising as the Riddler or any promotion for the show, because the studios he was with let him do the Riddler because he wanted to do it so much to keep him happy, but then weren't interested in letting him do any promotion or anything like that.
No, that's fair enough. And I agree with Spankin. Yeah, he was just playing the same character. And you're right. If you were a fan of Jim Carrey to start with, then you probably thought it was great. But the way the way he sort of also portrayed Ed Nigma as well, it bordered on silly, and I really struggle with silly. Comedy I can handle, but silliness doesn't work for me at all. Obviously, it works for other people, but for me personally, I just tune out altogether, and I go, "This is just actually stupid." But
it is interesting if you read the script, because the script is quite serious, and Jim Carrey must have just then been ad-libbing, because if you look at the riddles that the Riddler comes up with, they're actually quite well thought out and intelligent riddles. And then you've got him humping his staff and yelling "joygasm," and it kind of doesn't seem like the genius Riddler that he's portraying from the riddles he's sending and the genius he's meant to be. But we're not here to critique the movie. It's interesting to talk about that. We're here to look at the merchandise.
So he didn't get to use the riddle which is in the form of a joke from the 1966 movie. What's this in a tree and is very dangerous? A sparrow with a machine gun. So there you go. Anyway, so yes, in terms of the marketing and the merchandising, the posters that were very, very colourful, very, very pretty. The idea of the Chase Meridian characters, like, what was the point of that? But I suppose you need someone there who's going to chasing after the bat dude. But yes,
exactly. Cool. Yeah, I think if anything, she wasn't really that important a character. Again, we're going to look at.
Hang on. We're getting that, Thomas. Bit of patience, mate. We've got to be on air for at least another hour, mate. Settle down. You get your wine. You've had your vial file. You just got to chill, son. We're in lockdown. We've got nowhere to go.
There is so much merchandise to look at tonight, because basically you could hear Kenner. You can hear the reverse beeps on a truck reversing up with the Batman merchandise, because after the first two movies, boy, did they dump merchandise for the second two. So we're starting with what probably caused the shift in dynamic for the Batman movies, and that's McDonald's, where they lost so much on the first one. They were promised that this one would be brighter and more entertaining for kids and have more characters that they could merchandise. And what makes me laugh about that is, what did they go and do? They go and release glass goblets, which I would think aren't thrilling to kids at all. I mean, they are cool, and I do like them as, premiums you can get for a Batman movie. But after making such a big fuss of, we want it to be, colourful, the art and the promotion for McDonald's for Batman Forever was amazing. But then the stuff they brought out didn't grab me at all.
I love this one from Comp Rod. The Max's glasses were bulletproof, but were they nuclear proof? Because they were made in France, and France at the time was not out of favour with everybody because of their nuclear testing that was occurring. So a lot of people said, "No, we're going to boycott the glasses because they're French." So
because they were dropping les bombes.
Yeah, exactly right. So, and you'll find as we go along. When I was looking at these pictures, I thought, shit, I didn't realise I had as much stuff as I actually thought I did regarding this movie. But there's a couple of things I got, like the bag at the top, and definitely got I bought all 4 glasses because they were pretty cool. So yeah.
And if you look at the top there, they are all original pieces of artwork that were commissioned for McDonald's to be used just on the food containers. So they are some of the nicest, I think, pieces of art for the movie, where you've got Tommy Lee flicking the coin as Two-Face, and then you've got Batman sort of running through the Batcave, and you've got the Riddler in the middle of his lair with all the sort of lightning from his machine going off. And they would have made fantastic posters. I don't think they were ever released as posters, but I found the original art and I thought they did really well. They really did put a lot of work into this. Down the bottom there, you've got the display for the Gotham glasses, of course. And they released a series of discs that you could collect. They kind of like were Pogs or Tarzos that came out at the time. Did you want to add anything, Dags?
Yeah, I think I may have them. But there's a good comment from Phil. His brother Andrew refuses to ever watch Batman Forever or Batman and Robin again. Looks like my name is Andrew, so and I'm related to Phil. How good is that? So there you go. How about the fries? Oh yes, yes. Riddle me this. Yes, exactly right. Yes, very, very, very cool. But I think I may have some of those pogs, but yes.
Yeah. And then we move on to Batman, for some reason, was very successful with the cereal. Now, here we kind of get cereal tied in with Kellogg's once in a while and your cornflakes and things. But Batman, all the way through the 80s and 90s, there was different companies in America doing Batman merchandise, and Batman Forever probably had the biggest lot of different versions of cereals. So you could get all the Kellogg's different breakfast cereals with Batman-related premiums. What's really interesting, they released a lot of stuff, but it's actually really hard to find any of the premiums online. So you can see there's some tattoos or stickers there down the bottom, but they released comics and other things in the boxes, but they're not really well documented, and there's more pictures of the boxes than the actual sort of merchandise that exists. So I don't know, did you pick up a lot of the cereal stuff related to Batman Forever?
Well, I can tell you a very funny story. So this cereal box right here, the rice bubbles, right? And as you can see in the picture, those are flattened out boxes. I actually still have the original cereal in the box, still unopened from 1996 or whenever this movie came out. So, yes. And I don't even know why I hung on to it. And I've got another box that's very similar to that. But, yeah, so my rice bubbles are still – they went out of date in 1997, I think it was. And,
so they don't snap, crackle, and pop anymore unless you pour in some Viagra.
No, they just look at me and go, shh, here he comes. Yeah, exactly right. Had I seen a Batman version of this one, though, I would have gone a bit nuts over that. But, no, I don't think I ever did. But, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very cool.
And here we have, of course, we're going over to Kenner. We're going over to some of the Kenner toys, and some of the first things out of the blocks were the actual Micro Machine transforming play sets. And they are actually really good toys. I've had these for a few times, and they are little busts of Batman or the Riddler that you can display. And then when you open them up, they all fold out into a Micro Machine play set. The Batman is, of course, the Batcave and came with the Batmobile, and it's all got different levels and looks very cool. And then the Riddler is, of course, the Riddler's lair on his throne with all his electronic stuff going on in the background. And again, even with this, what I was really impressed with Batman Forever, the toy companies did a lot of painting and illustration. Like nowadays, you just get sort of Photoshop and stuff. But there was a lot of original artwork. So it was very appealing to kids. And even as me, I like the artwork for toys and advertising and stuff. And Batman Forever really did have a good press campaign that used original artwork and not just cut and paste and at the time, I guess, airbrushing stuff out into photos. Did you like the whole green theme for Batman Forever and how the merchandise sort of all fit together, I guess, more than the other merchandise from the first two movies where they probably told merchandisers, this is the theme we're going to stick with and it's going to run through all the merchandise?
Oh, it was very pretty, very attractive, and it's one of those things that you go, "Oh yeah, that looks great. I'll pick it up." Even if, as I said last week, don't necessarily want it. But no, I do agree with you. I think from an art side of things, they did a very, very good job. And I thought it was interesting to note that it's this Batman head up the top here. They use that mold for just about everything, just using different scales, different sizes. So that head pops up all over the place, and I have it like I was on a tape deck and all sorts of things. So, and the Viewmaster and whatever. So, but yeah, it did look good. There's no denying that. Yeah, the color scheme was very, very nice. So yeah. The only thing I never saw was the Batmobile thing over here on the right hand side. I never saw one of those. So
I'm pretty sure that never was released in Australia. Yeah. I've had them, but importing them from overseas. Here's the Kenner pre-release movie campaign where you've got the poster with the new product in, and then you've got the catalogs that came with other toys that started to show the Batman Forever stuff. And again, you could tell that was well thought out by the toy companies. I think they had probably more toys than they needed, because you can see they started doing Batman with huge orange wings and the ice cape and all this stuff that wasn't in the movie. But I do understand if you've paid probably millions of dollars for a license, you're going to want to squeeze every last cent to get money back out of it. And it makes it fun for collectors, because if you just like the ones from the movie, you can go, I'm going to get a Riddler and I'm going to get Two-Face and Batman and Robin. And then if you like to be a completist, then you can go nuts and get everything else. There's a really lovely standee there. Did you ever get the standee that's like Batman in Gotham with the Riddler and... Did you get that, Dags?
Certainly do. Sitting in a storage shed even as we speak. So there you go. The only problem is the top of it is so high that it actually sort of bends in the back because of it's a bit top heavy. But yeah, I don't even know where I got it from, but I've certainly got that.
Fantastic standee coming to Aaron's Collectibles soon.
It probably will too.
I remember. I saw that when they came out, and I've never seen one since. So that's probably quite a rare item. I was looking.
In that case, we'll have to talk turkey about how much you want to pay for it.
I was looking online. I'll tell you later how much they're going for.
Good. Yeah, put that in the eBay section for next week. Castle Batskull. That's a good name for it, actually. I really like that. So
it is an impressive piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But obviously they learned from the Batman Returns about having the character in multiple color schemes and these different accessories and all the rest of it, and it did work. I mean, it did look really, really cool. It's just way too many of them, as you said.
And then, of course, it came out and it kept coming out. For Batman Forever, I remember it was the first of the Batman movies where it did seem to be excessive, where you would go to the shops and every week there'd be new figures and they would have less and less to do with what was actually seen in the movie and more to do with, oh, we've recolored and repackaged an older Batman toy and added some new accessories and the kids are going to buy it again. So there really was a lot of Batmobiles and different figures, and then there was 12-inch figures and there was plush figures, and it was a popular movie and it was popular with kids. So I guess they succeeded on that front, where they might have compromised the story, but from a collector's point of view, they got more merchandise probably out of this movie than the previous two movies put together.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at all these things that I think, oh yeah, I've got a lot of that. The only thing I never saw was the Batmobile telephone. I have a Batmobile telephone from the first movie, but I never saw one for Batman Forever. So that maybe
you know what's interesting about that telephone? When it rings, you don't have to pick it up. Alfred comes in and gives you the phone.
Yeah, it's just a flashing knob on the top, but yeah, it does look pretty cool. I've actually even got some action figures where the name is not even written on the card. It's yeah, kind of cool. But yeah, just a lot of stuff there. And that's the thing today. Who knows if there's any value for it at all? I mean, it worked at the time, but yeah, who knows now? Don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, we got ourselves a video apparently.
So video.
Good stuff. Hang on, I just got to go over here. So you talk for a couple of seconds while I think this up.
When you have a successful movie like this and merchandisers get on board, they of course have a television campaign to try and get people to buy more stuff or different things. So through this presentation tonight, like last week, we've got a couple of videos to show you.
So we're only doing this because we're hopefully in the volume's a bit louder than what we had last week. So, but yeah, it goes for 30 seconds. So sit back, relax, enjoy, or go get yourself a cup of tea.
The bat signal pierces the night, and this time it's calling you. No question, it's Batman Forever. Now guard Gotham City with a punishing power armor set, Bat Signal Blaster, and combat utility belt with an arsenal of crime-fighting gear. Now you are Batman. Blistering batarangs unleash an explosion of power. And with the power of your blazing Bat Signal Blaster, fire up the night and make the Riddler see the light. Are you ready?
No question.
It's Batman Forever. Armor set, utility belt, and Bat Signal Blaster sold separately. Batteries not included.
Did you get all that last bit at the end? Batteries not included.
Batteries not included. But I chose to show that one. There's a lot of different ads for Batman Forever toys, but that was one I don't remember getting here. And it's not an ad for action figures. It's an ad for a Batman costume. But I thought what is funny is a lot of that stuff was not from the movie, especially the portable bat signal, because, of course, Batman needs to shine his signal on villains before he shoots them, which doesn't make much sense at all. But it shows you how much stuff they put out and how they were thinking, what can we sell to the kids?
So Greg, part of me actually believes that you're probably right, that there's very little value in it, because at the time it was a bit of a big thing, but then as time went on and people forgot about the movie, the merchandise sort of lost interest as well. It'd be like hardcore collectors, people who really love the film may show interest in it, but Batman fans generally, I don't know. And there's a question here from Spankin. Is the thing is too much merch? The answer is yes and no. No, there is no such thing as too much merch, but yes, if nobody buys it. So you can produce anything you want. If you produced 1 million, I mean, literally 1 million action figures, you can go to town, but clearly you're not going to sell them all. You might sell a few thousand, maybe a couple of thousand, you never know, depending on what it is. But yeah, so if it doesn't sell, then yes, you've actually produced too much. But if that makes any sense whatsoever. So there you go. What do you reckon?
Well, I guess you can always make a documentary of them digging up all the Batman and Robin merchandise out of the Mexican dump years later, and then everybody wants.
That's exactly right. But you can produce whatever you want, but whether you sell them is another question. So yeah, Jess, hang on, where are we? Sorry, hang on, I just got to press it. Yeah, so yeah, Jess has clearly said that she absolutely loves this movie. That just tells me that Jess needs a bit of therapy. So there you go. And I had such high hopes for Jess, but no, she's just disappointed me now. Very good, awesome. That looks as funny as shit. Yeah, I love that. Spaceball and merchandise. Yeah, well, it's the nature of the biz, and it's been going on since effectively even the 60s actually. So it's nothing new. It's just the way it's done. So, but anyway, we move on. Something for that any kid can certainly run out and buy.
And this is one of those things. I didn't cover this for the first Batman movie because there was one, but the Batman Forever is actually quite a good pinball machine. And think what you like about the movie. It did translate well. The art for that is fantastic. The gameplay on this one is quite good. I don't remember them being a lot of this one around in Melbourne when I was doing the penny parlours back in the 90s. But I do remember it being a game that I wasn't disappointed to put money in and play. Do you remember this one much, Dags?
Yeah, I may have played it once or twice, but that's about it. But it certainly was very eye-catching. There's no denying that at all. I actually didn't want to bring this up, but Rod already has. Too much merch, you say, Phantom Menace. Yes, Phantom Menace was definitely an example of what I was saying about producing that much that it didn't sell. So I didn't want to use it by name, but now that someone else has brought up, they have. And Jess, yeah, she apologized. Apology accepted. Lady Jess, there you go. It does look good. That's the thing. I mean, it's meant to look good. And unfortunately, the other two movies, actually, the first movie got one, but Batman Returns didn't get a pinball machine. But yeah, very, very cool.
I do remember the gameplay on that one being better than the Batman and the original Batman one.
No, I can't remember. Yeah.
Oh, well, we move on. So again, Kenner really loaded up the toy shops, and you can see there figures galore. They did 2 different bat caves. So you've got the big one down in the bottom left, which was a unique version. And what Kenner did a lot, you've got the Wayne Manor bat cave. This is the Batman Forever version. And they released that toy about 12 times over probably 2 decades, where it was the Batman, the animated series, Batman Returns, Batman Forever. And they did it in all different colors. And sometimes it came with an exclusive figure. And sometimes the decals on the TV screens were different. And sometimes they were the same. But they got a lot of money out of that. But it is a classic toy. That is one of those really cool toys that it sort of concertinas out from when it's closed. So you've just got the front and the balcony of the Wayne Manor, and then it concertinas out, and both sides have different things happening on them. So you can understand why they did use that for quite a while. And the Batman Forever version is quite striking. I think the one trick they did miss, it would have been very cool if when they made that second larger Batcave, if it had somehow fit onto the Wayne Manor version and you could have made a mega Batcave. Collectors and kids always like that kind of thing.
The Batcave picture doesn't give away the size of the physical box that the thing came in. I mean, last week we were saying how the expensive Batmobile could serve as a coffee table, right? Well, this thing here, the box is so friggin' big. What would you use it as? You could actually use it as a chair, actually. It's ridiculous.
At the chair to sit around your Batman Hot Toys coffee table. But of course, Tags, you have an absolutely mint box of this, don't you?
I'm pissed off about this. So just very weird. In the documentary I was discussing last week, I covered this off in detail. But this is only available in one place. This is the big Bat Cave in the bottom left-hand corner from World for Kids. And when I went and bought, I couldn't afford to pay up front. I had to put it on lay-by, and I said I was a collector, so they had to put it aside for me. And when I went back to pick it up, they wrapped it in black plastic. So I said, I'm a Batman collector. I'm buying this as an investment. They wrapped it in black plastic with a big sign saying, do not open, do not damage. It's for a collector. I was really, really impressed with what they did. And I left it that way because I couldn't display it anywhere for years and years and years and years. When I finally got it here to put it on display, as I was taking the black plastic off in front of all these people, whoever put the black plastic on, sticky taped a bit of it to the box. And, of course, it tore when I took the box off. And it was on the front as well. So whenever I had this displayed in the collection room, I had to show the back of it, not the front, because every time I saw the rip, it just reminded me of what had happened. So,
no,
yes.
Not mint. Might as well open it.
Yeah, well, as it is, the box, because it's so physically large, I mean, you can never get one that was absolutely pristine anyway, but that really pissed me off. And it was years after World for Kids had closed, so there's nothing I could do about it. But, yeah, it was just a lot of plastic in a box. And even now, if you move the box, it just rattles around. I've got no idea what it looks like inside. But it was just complete tripe. But most of the stuff in this page I've got, except for the Wayne Manor thing, I never even saw that. So, yeah, bad memories.
Now, we talked about the Batman Returns soundtrack being quite a good soundtrack. I actually really liked the Batman Forever soundtrack. I thought it had a good mix of current artists from the time. I remember watching the debut of the new U2 song that they used from this on MTV and thinking it was absolutely amazing. And it was one of the soundtracks that I bought and listened to. A lot of soundtracks I would buy and just keep. This was one I didn't mind listening to. At the time, I don't think they released the orchestral version of the soundtrack, though. I think that's more of a modern thing that only came out in the last couple of years. Did they release? Do you have the original soundtrack, the orchestral version?
I don't think so. I can't remember. I don't even remember seeing it, to be frankly honest with you. So no, I'll say no.
When I found it,
no.
I was surprised because I had the soundtrack in different versions, and I worked in a record shop for years, and I never saw the orchestral version. The interesting thing about the orchestral version, at the time, I didn't realize it wasn't done by Danny Elfman, because I did think that the music they did, even though it wasn't the same as the first two movies, was in the same spirit as the Danny Elfman soundtrack. So later, when I was, a bit older and looking into it, I was like, oh, they did quite a good job on this one still. They had the U2 song, which was huge, but the biggest song from this was Seal, Kissed from a Rose. And there was quite a bit of controversy over this because it was nominated on the at the Academy Awards for best song from a movie, but then they had to withdraw it because it wasn't actually written for the movie. When they assembled the movie, someone had heard the song, took it off his album and said, we're going to use this for the soundtrack. And according to the rules of the Academy Awards, you can't just have a random movie from song from someone's album put on your movie and then say it's a movie soundtrack. So it was originally nominated, and then they had to withdraw the nomination. But the music clip for it is still him singing on the Batman soundtrack with clips from the movie in and stuff like that. Here's some of the, beyond the soundtrack, some of the singles that were released. And again, if you were a collector of music, Batman Forever had a fantastic range of stuff that you could track down. And the good thing about it was a lot of the different artists had sort of done songs that were geared at some of the different characters. So the Riddler, you had the Method Man song. U2 was obviously more about Batman. And then Kiss from a Rose was, I guess, it wasn't written about Batman, but it fit the movie really well. So I remember at the time the soundtrack being quite huge. It was on the radio, and it was like my non-geek friends would buy and listen to this soundtrack because it was such a good one.
The single at the top here, is that a more recent thing? Because vinyl had died in the mid-90s, right? And nothing was being produced on vinyl. I mean, you couldn't even buy the soundtrack on vinyl. So was that produced in the area? Because that would be pretty surprising if it was.
Yeah,
Remember?
I think it is. I never saw one at the time, but because it was green vinyl and it's Batman Forever, I thought I had to include it. They did release at the time a couple of limited vinyl things from Batman Forever, but I don't remember ever seeing that single at the time. So it just shows that vinyl's made a comeback in such a big way that they're taking some of these old movies and there's still a big enough demand that they can bring them out. But I guess for bands like U2, there's always going to be a demand, isn't there?
That's probably why I never bought the soundtracks, because they're just on CD only, and at that point, CD just had no interest in it whatsoever. But yeah, the fact that there's a vinyl disc there, and the fact that it's green, that's actually quite impressive. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So we've moved on, and this is the print. I guess the magazines, the comics, and the print campaign that went along with the Batman Forever. And where I really liked the print campaign for Batman Returns, Batman Forever just seemed to have too much. And again, for those who like Jim Carrey, fantastic, but he seemed to be gurning at the camera out of every single magazine he was on. You can kind of understand why Tommy Lee Jones was a bit sour towards him, because he didn't get much press from the movie at all. And Val Kilmer, you have sort of the, I guess, the George Lazenby syndrome, where everyone compares him to the original and everyone said he wasn't as good. I thought he was fine as Batman. I just think he was in the one movie, so he never really got to cement himself into the character. What did you think, Dags?
I thought in the end he actually did quite a good Bruce Wayne, actually. And I thought if you could take Michael Keaton's Batman and have Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne, I did think it was interesting that they actually recreated or image the sequence where his parents get killed, and it's like, hang on, we've seen it in the previous movie, as in like Batman 89, then we see it again in this. I thought I didn't understand the logic of all that, but he certainly wasn't a disaster, and I think you're right, maybe give him more time. If you had have taken Val Kilmer and put him into the Michael Keaton role, maybe then you would have had just a perfect symmetry of just excellence, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. So yeah.
Do you think it would have been a better movie if Michael Keaton had come back and done this one?
No, because I think there's a lot of negatives associated with the film that weren't just around the Batman character. I still, as I said earlier, I still think the bad guys brought it undone. Make them dark and nasty, and then it would have been a completely different picture. Jess would have hated it because she's a big Jim Carrey fan, but do it the Tim Burton style. Things might have been different. So
I agree. I think it would have been basically the same movie, no matter who was Batman.
Yeah. Pearl Kilmer. Yeah, at the time it was a bit of hard jacket, but I mean, it does happen when you have like George Lazenby taken over as James Bond. It's never going to work well for him in the end. So, yes.
And then we come to Dags's favorite collectibles of them all, like the trading cards. And again, with Batman Forever, you got the cards, the stickers, the deluxe cards, the holograms, and then there was all the different premiums where you could collect cards and stickers and pogs and different things as well. I thought they were an impressive set. It had a nice base set. Because it was a colourful movie, they always go better as trading cards. I thought, if you collected the cards, you wouldn't be too disappointed. They are a set of cards that a lot of people collected, so they're not really rare now. You can still pick up a base set for probably cheaper than you could when they originally came out.
Yeah, it would have been great. Like you said, when they came out, if you're getting like the 50,000 different billion varieties, and that's what pissed me off the most. Mick has mentioned about how the bat suit. Yeah, the whole nipples on the bat suit thing. Yeah, as we discussed sort of briefly last week. Totally unnecessary. It was just I don't know how you would even describe it. Just ridiculous, but whatever. So yeah, very, very cool.
Joel Schumacher came in. He made this movie, and the gods at Warner were impressed. They were so impressed they wanted him to make another movie.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh dear. So this is interesting. This is a movie that doesn't so much as split fandom, but blows it up. I saw an interview once with George Clooney where him and Brad Pitt were doing promotion for Ocean's 11, and Brad Pitt and him were bragging about the worst things they've done in movies. And it got to the point where George Clooney turned around and said to Brad Pitt, "I destroyed the Batman franchise." And Brad Pitt turned around and said, "I can't beat that. I agree."
Actually, George was very open about it. He said it a few times. He said, "Yeah, I think after the premiere of the movie, he went to the premiere of the film, walked out, and he says, yep, that's into that." So he knew straight away. And the sad part about it is the poster, like we saw in the previous movie. I mean, the logo design, everything's fantastic, and it's like, oh, it's really eye-catching. The red, it really works. And after that, the rest of it all just tanked. So
it really does. There were rumors that there were two different cuts of this movie. There was a darker cut and there was the comedy cut. And we apparently got the comedy cut. I don't know how true that is. I would love to see the darker cut, but I don't think there could be enough changes to actually save the movie.
Well, the rumor I heard is they said to work out all the action scenes, they just got all these toys, gave them to all these kids, and the kids just ran them up buildings and jumped them across rooftops and whatever. They said, okay, we'll just replicate exactly what the kids have done and put it in the film, and that's the reason why they did what they did. So
that's absolutely true. I think it's on the commentary on the DVD, which if you watch this movie, it's actually more entertaining if you watch it with the commentary. And it's actually 2 hours of Joel Schumacher just apologizing to the audience. But he got a year less to make it than he asked for. He was given all the designs from Kenner, and they basically said, you have to put these in the movie because we're making them as toys. And he said, well, this is going to cost this much to make all of these, and they don't fit into the movie. And, why would we be doing this scene in it? So it really was a case of the merchandisers went nuts and got too much control.
Well, the person I felt really would have struggled the most is Michael Goff, who played Alfred. Right, he wouldn't know who's Arthur or Martha. He'd meet George Clooney and go, "Who are you playing?" "Oh, I'm playing Batman, Bruce Wayne." He'd go, "Well, hang on, what happened to the other guy who did it?" Val Kilmer, "Oh, he's already pissed off." "Well, what about the guy before him?" "Oh, he's already gone too." He's like, "Who the hell's Batman these days? They keep changing them. It's driving me freaking nuts."
And again, I think it suffered from trying to cram too many characters in, and that is obviously to create more characters for toys. I mean, here you've got Batman and Robin, of course, and you've got Mr. Freeze, and you've got Batgirl and Poison Ivy, but you don't even have the poster of Bane, and Bane is one of those characters that was loved in comic books, and he's just sort of standing in the background and says Bane about twice in this, which is really disappointing. And I think none of the characters are really given enough time to develop. If you look at Batman Returns, where you have the backstory of Catwoman, you have the backstory of the Penguin, and this one starts with Commissioner Gordon ringing Batman and saying, it's Mr. Freeze, he's in the Gotham Museum and he's freezing it up. And that's it. You're like, oh, wow, this is a very different tone. This is aimed at kids that don't have a long attention span.
I love the comment when Alfred says, Alicia Silverstone's character, says, "Oh, so, she's going to become Batgirl. Suit me up, Uncle Alfred." And you're thinking, okay, so the incest overtones on that one are a bit iffy, aren't they? So, okay, start at the knees, please.
Well, they did make. I think they were put in because of probably the dissatisfaction with how much merchandising in Batman Forever. I know Alfred asks Batman for food, and he says, "No, I'll get takeout," which must have been aimed at McDonald's. But in this one, you've got like the Bat credit card and stuff like that. So all bets were off with what they were going to do. This is another ad campaign. I don't remember these posters from the time.
Cut you off. So this has been mentioned a couple of times, and I wanted to bring it up. So there are a lot of one-liners, and of course, Arnold does get some of the best ones. At least some of the gags, as dorky as they are, they seem to work okay. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Go for it.
I don't remember this ad campaign at the time. I remember the other ones, but I don't remember this. But I remember seeing the movie and pretty much washing my hands of it. So maybe this came out later. Did you have these posters? Were they in Australia? No,
by now I'd stopped collecting. So most of the stuff we're going to see, I didn't even see. Okay, but I will tell you one story. Actually, I might save it until I think it might, and the item might pop up later on. But I will tell you one story where somebody had the best intentions, and I was like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. But no, I was already tuned out by this point. So Thomas has said, oh, Dag. I mean, she could have just said, oh, can I have the suit and I can get changed, but not suit me up, Uncle Alfred. It's like, yeah, righto. Make of that what you will, kids. So there you go. All right.
Now, McDonald's didn't go with a campaign for Batman and Robin. So after throwing their toys out of the pram with Batman Returns and getting their own way for Batman Forever, Taco Bell in America outbid them and did the Batman Forever premiums over there. And these are a series of collector cups, and they also had collectible cards. I do like the top picture there, which I found on the internet, where someone's got the huge banner, and that's their entire back fence is like just one Batman and Robin banner. If there's anything going to stop thieves coming into your house, it's that banner, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess like a lot of things, as we said earlier, imagery-wise, it looks fantastic. It's just the product itself was terrible. And even if you had kept Val Kilmer and brought him into this movie, it probably would have helped. But there was just a lot of stupidness about it. But anyway, don't want to focus on the negatives. That'll come later.
And, of course, we had the Tarzos in Australia, and Tarzos were incredibly popular. Before Batman and Robin, we'd had the Star Wars ones, which was one of the most successful food premium tie-ins ever. And we'd had Space Jam and Looney Tunes, and there was a few other things. And for some reason, they changed them from round Tarzos to movie clips, and they did it on a movie that wasn't exactly popular. And that was the end of it. Tarzos were gone.
This is Rod regarding Batman and Robin and colonoscopy. But there are some comments about, like we've mentioned that Jess said that she really liked it, and Joel's made a point about going to watch it again. You do. Sorry, hang on, wrong button. Yeah, they were saying, if they could, they'd watch it now. I guess it's one thing to say, how would the movies Forever and Batman and Robin go on if Batman and Batman Returns never existed? So Batman Forever is the first one, right? It's possible things may have turned out slightly differently. I mean, you were standing on the shoulders of giants here.
They would have been better received because there was nothing serious to compare them to. They would have been a step-up, big-budget version of the 60s movie, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. That may have actually helped. Because there's nothing worse when you produce something that's really, really good, and as we saw with a whole lot of movie franchises, and then they start going downhill because people say, "Oh, the previous one was way better." So,
for the people who are saying, "I'd love to watch them now," when I was putting this together, I'm like, do you know what? I haven't watched this movie for 20 years. I do actually want to watch it again. That's actually a bit of a lie. I watched it with my son, but only with one eye. But here's something interesting. My son watched all three of them when he was about 6 or 7. And they got to the end of this one, and I said to him, "What do you think of it?" And he's usually, even though he was young, he usually has, a good opinion on stuff. And he looked at me and he goes, "They did it, Dad, didn't they?" And I said, "What did they do?" He goes, "They made the best Batman movie ever." So it does work, and I think I would like to watch it now because I think it would have that. I grew up with it, and it's so bad, it's good. So it has that nostalgia pull on me. I like Batman Forever. Dags is not. Batman Forever was sort of in the middle for me. I didn't like Batman and Robin, but I would like to watch all of them again. Maybe in lockdown, I'll whack them on in the shop and just watch all 4 of them through.
Yeah, the problem about doing that is you do realise just how poor the last 2 were. It's sort of because you build up such a big hype. You go, this is great. What's the next one going to be like? And it doesn't. But I suppose, as we've said, it's up to the individual. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up here. As well, we've been discussing, actually, Joel's actually bought the Batman Forever vinyl LP, which is, while we've been talking. There was... who was? Sorry, this is an important one. Jared said they should have stopped at one movie. Any movie, that makes a lot of money, there's always going to be sequels. So there's not much you can do about that. Yes, very, very cool. Now, we actually have a video to show. Now, be aware that the video quality is horrendous. Okay, this is obviously an old commercial. So you'll just have to squint your eyes, and it goes for 1 minute. So, yes, let us go for it.
Of all the challengers he must face, none is so determined, so relentless, so diabolically ingenious as you. Taco Bell introduces the Unmasked Batman game. Just peel back Batman's mask to reveal Bruce Wayne, and you can win cash. One of millions of prizes, or even a Batmobile, instantly. Only you can unmask Batman, only at Taco Bell. No one gets a second chance to unmask Batman. Until now, Taco Bell introduces 5 new Batman and Robin collector cups, each with 2 chances to unmask Batman. Reveal Bruce Wayne, and win cash, one of millions of prizes, or even a Batmobile. I won! Instantly. Only you get a second chance to unmask Batman. Only at Taco Bell.
One thing I think is worth pointing out too is that we're saying we don't like the movie. A few people have said that they do like it and whatever else. But history can be a pretty good judge. And if you have 5 people who say they love it, but 6,000 say it was disastrous, and the lead actor said it was shit, that usually tells you which way the world is going to swing. So, but yes, very, very cool. This is a bit more. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, those ads are pretty interesting because they gave away an original Batmobile from the movie. And looking on the internet, no one knows who won it and no one knows where it went. There is one guy online who reckons he was about 7 when the promotion happened, and he peeled the Bruce Wayne, which was meant to give you the Batmobile, and it said Batmobile, and he freaked out, and he got his mum to take him to Taco Bell, and she didn't believe he was going to win a Batmobile, and they handed it over, and the guy behind the counter goes, "Oh, congratulations, you've won a free meal." And he was like, no, I'm meant to have won the Batmobile, and of course, he's 7, so they said, no, you've just won a free meal, and the mum didn't take any notice and said, no. And no one knows where the actual Batmobile wound up, except there is a an episode of a TV show that actually looked at this. Do you remember this from the time, Dags, or you're not interested in...
the Batmobile for Batman and Robin was complete shit. So... an open top car with 1 seat. How stupid is it?
I did a bit of research into this. They gave away 2 Batmobiles. They actually gave away the Batman one from the Tim Burton movie, but it was gutted, so it didn't have an engine in. And the person who won that has still got it and gave it to museums. And it was apparently in the small print. He couldn't sell it for a profit. He couldn't display it for a profit. He couldn't put it anywhere. So it's a bit of a white elephant when you got it. But there was an episode of the Drew Carey show where they actually lampooned this, and Drew Carey won the Batmobile in the show. And they actually had the Batmobile from Batman and Robin, and he was driving it around. Oh, it was a Batman Returns.
Yeah, Batman Forever. You got the wrong movie, dude. So it's that one there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was because of the Taco Bell promotion that they did this episode. I don't actually remember this episode. It would have been pretty cool to see at the time, but it was such a big thing giving away the Batmobile that it got into popular culture and made it into an episode of a sitcom.
Very, very cool. Yes, it was pretty awful. So, but yeah, you redesigned a car that didn't need redesigning, and you made something that's just absolutely horrendous. But anyway, let's move on. So, this is something a bit more close to my heart, actually. Look at that.
There you go. Have you got a box of them in your freezer?
No, but I've actually got about 4 or 5 of these in my, maybe 3. I've got 3 of these and 3 from Batman Forever, I think. Still in the freezer. Heading towards 30 years now. Yep.
The wrappers for these still turn up, and I was actually surprised they don't go for a lot on eBay. Probably some of the promotion for it would go a bit more. These were Australian Peter's Ice Cream Batman and Robin icy poles, which was actually pretty cool. It was the bat symbol, which is a pretty good icy pole for a kid. I think on one of the episodes of the Talk Nerdy to Me, MPS did a lot of the cool ice treats, but I don't think he covered this one. But the one on the other end I don't remember seeing is Mr. Freeze's frozen icy pole sticks. Did you remember seeing those?
No, I don't. No.
So it is one of those things where you've got, your ice lollies and you just whack Batman on it and say they're Mr. Freezes, and there you go. You've got a new Batman product.
Exactly right. Just on a completely unrelated note, I was going to point this out earlier. Mark said he still prefers Adam West as Batman. A lot of people do, actually. Good old Adam, despite all the movies, all the money, all the technology, and all the rest of it. Some people are actually very, very enamored by good old Adam West, even to this day.
Love the Adam West show. We chuck that on and watch seasons of it in the shop at a time. Sometimes I'm sure we will do an episode on 60s Batman memorabilia too at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, she called me Mr. Freeze. Yeah, well, the amount of Batman shit in my fridge that's been there since like 30 years ago is kind of insane. And so, yeah, so there's been, running jokes for a long time about my ice creams. People used to say, oh, they'll come in and eat them at parties when you could have parties. And I go, yeah, don't call me when you need to go to hospital. So, yes. And if people are wondering what's the oldest thing in my fridge that related to Batman, I've got from the original movie, the 89 movie, some jellies and chocolates, which are still mint in box, mint in packet, and they're 32 years old now, and they're still in the fridge. So that's devotion for you. There you go.
And of course, Kenner was going to produce every single toy they could. And as we talked about earlier, Kenner pretty much went to Warner and said, this is all the toys that we've made, and this is all the vehicles, and you're going to put them all in the movie for us, because the movie is going to be like a giant toy ad for Batman memorabilia. So where the Batman Forever had the green campaign, this had the red campaign, like other popular merchandise movies like The Phantom Menace. We've got the same Batcave down in the bottom, again painted differently, but Constantine is out and has all the same action features. And then we've got all the different figures that they brought out, and again they brought the main figures out and a billion other figures. Now I don't know if you guys remember the Poison Ivy they did with this, but it must be one of the ugliest female action figures they've ever done. It was really disappointing. The 12-inch figure was much better and looked a lot more like Uma Thurman, but the figures for this I didn't think were very good. It looked like they'd been rushed, and it looked like they had been put into production fast, which is amazing considering they were designed before the movie. And they did everything I don't like, where you've got day blue, orange, and all these different coloured Batmans that have very little to do with the movie. There is a really good toy line in there, though. If you take, the 40 figures that they've made and you take about 10 of them out, so the ones that look like they're from the movie, so Mr. Freeze and Bane, Batman and Robin, Batgirl, Mr. Freeze's henchmen are actually quite good. They're actually quite a good figure line, and then they just released 10 times as much as they should and sort of ruined it for everyone. You'd stopped collecting by this time, hadn't you?
Yeah, I had, and I've got a bit of a funny story to share with you. I was going to mention this earlier. Give me a second. Hang on. I got to press a couple of buttons. So down the bottom here, I don't know if this is it exactly, but it looks like the remote control Batmobile, right? And of course, I'd given up collecting at this point, and I couldn't stand the bloody thing. And my other half at the time bought 2 of them, right? Gave them to me as a Christmas gift, all nicely wrapped in their boxes and whatever. And like, obviously, the idea is you keep one as a collectible, you play with the other one. Now, the problem is that, one, I hated the movie. I hated the car. And I thought, shit, what do I do? And he said, oh, you get to play with this one. And of course, a remote control car is terrible compared to a radio control car. Joel would know about this, right? Because it has a cable and you've got to press it. Totally limited use for an adult. As a little kid, you might love it, but as an adult, I was like, man, this is complete tripe. But the fact that she went to all the trouble to buy me 2 of them so I could open one and not use the other, I thought, mate, I had to be like, oh, that's lovely, that's awesome, it's fantastic. A pair of socks could have been the way to go. And she was like really, really keen on it. And I thought, oh my God, you've just wasted your money, and it's such a shame. And in the end, I couldn't stand them. So I think I've still got the Batman and Robin car in the box, so I didn't get rid of that. So I think I've still got it. But that was
probably
very
got the 2-for-1 special and got both of them.
Yeah, it was very, very sad. But yes, anyway.
And here is the wall of Batman and Robin merchandise. Again, you can see all the figures, and all of them came loaded with all these accessories that weren't in the movie. Lots of extra stuff. It does mean if you get a loose collection, they're hard to find complete because there's so many different accessories. And as a toy dealer, I absolutely hate when you get like an entire collection of these and then you have to match up the accessories because they're in like one big box all jumbled up from a toy box. It's hours and hours of looking online to see which accessory matches up with what figure. Also there, it was the only, on all the other movies, there was big displays of Batman merchandise. This was the only picture I could find online of a toy aisle in the 90s with the Batman and Robin merchandise. So that's an end display there, which you can see there was quite a big display of Batman and Robin merchandise, but it wasn't as big as the other movies, and that probably is because it wasn't well received right from the outset.
Yeah, and as you've said before, if you could tell the success of a film based on the amount of merchandise that sells, not is produced, as we discussed earlier. And that's a very, very good point. I've got a very quick, sorry, Thomas, about the stuff in my freezer. Yeah, it's actually in my food freezer, and my other half occasionally has a go at me because shit gets in the way. But it's the sacrifice you must make. But I reckon some of this stuff was sitting around in the stores for years to come. So there you go.
And here's some of the vehicles. And the one good thing about this is if you get like Mr. Freeze's cryo chamber and the ice fortress and you collect the Batman animated series, they're really good play sets that you can go put with the Batman animated stuff, because the lines, of course, cross over. But at the time, I wasn't really collecting Batman, but I thought the Batmobile looked quite poor, and the accessories and the different things weren't up to the standard that some of the other movies had been. The stuff that was still good was the stuff that had been reissued from the previous movie, like the Wayne Manor Batcave there.
Yeah, this is our challenge for the future. So William's buggered off to watch War of the Worlds on SBS. We have to arrange a time where he says, no, I'm going to give War of the Worlds a miss. He wants to stay with us. Yeah, exactly right. I don't know what to say about it, but it was just, a lot of it was unnecessary and just disappointing. And I can't think of anything positive, so I'll just move on.
And this was the first line that really had an extensive 12-inch range. So they had the 12-inch figures. 12-inch figures at the time weren't as big a common collectible that came out with movies. Star Wars had done them, but they weren't as popular, so didn't make as much money. So there were quite a few. They were hit and miss. I remember Batman and Robin being okay, and Mr. Freeze is quite collectible now just because it's Schwarzenegger. But I also remember Batgirl being quite a poor figure. These are still relatively easy to get, and you can get them online, sort of the whole set, for not much more than they originally went for back when they came out.
What I thought was interesting is like the Robin in this movie has the Nightwing sort of look. He's got all black and he's got the red thing across the chest and all this sort of bizzo, which makes a lot of sense because Batman is all black, right? But the Robin outfit from Batman Forever was actually pretty good, nipples notwithstanding. So you can't argue which one. Logically, it should be black, like Batman's is black, but the color scheme for the previous version was actually quite good. So I reckon that's a bit of a tricky one. And one thing I thought was interesting is when they did the sonar versions of everything with all the silver everywhere. Yes. It was complete tripe, but it looked good, and I've got to give them credit for that. So I thought that you wouldn't wear that in a pink fit if you were trying to fight crime, but the idea behind it was actually kind of cool. I love this. Just on a completely different side, Gavin has said he's taping War of the Worlds. We don't use tape anymore, but people can't help it. They still say tape, don't they? So, yeah, love it.
And this is interesting as well because look at it quickly and it could be Batman or it could be Star Wars, but obviously they had design templates, and that's just me rearranging figures next to each other And you can see the Batman Forever stuff is exactly the same design template as the Star Wars Power of the Force. And the Phantom Menace stuff is exactly the same color red as the Batman and Robin merchandise. So it started off as Kenner and went over to Hasbro, but it's the same company. But I think they were pretty lazy with the way they designed the items. The Batman Forever, of course, came out before the Power of the Force stuff. And the Power of the Force stuff, I always thought that was meant to be a lightsaber or a laser blast on it, but it's just something they've used from Batman Forever. And then the Phantom Menace, they don't have the same advertising because, it's the Darth Maul, but they've used the same color palette exactly. So there you are, Batman and Star Wars meshed together.
Yeah, at face value, you'd be going, look at that, bloody Batman stole friggin' the color palette from Phantom Menace, not realizing it's the other way around because the Batman movie came out first. Good old Greg's got a thing for Poison Ivy. Yeah, good for you, man. There wouldn't be that much merchandise to buy for her, I wouldn't think. Even Jess agrees with you about the color schemes looking the same. So, yeah, I guess it's easy. Just, it works and it's eye-catching. They've probably done all the, what do you call it when they do all the visual tests and cues to see what colors resonate with people
Marketing.
and who, not market research, but you can do scientific color tests to say, I think of this color will be eye-catching and a person will be drawn to it versus another color they'll be repelled by it. And maybe that's why they followed this concept. Plus, it's less work for them as well. So, yes.
And then the soundtrack, and where the other Batman soundtracks did it for me, this one did absolutely nothing for me. I don't really remember many of the songs, and just going back and looking at some of the songs that were on it, I was like, oh, that was from this movie. But it still had, popular groups from the time, but it was more of a miss for me. So had Jewel and Smashing Pumpkins and a couple of other sort of big groups from the day. R. Kelly is there as well. But did you like the soundtrack for this? Again, I didn't like it as much as the other Batman movies.
No, didn't. I don't even remember it at all. And this is what you said. Yeah, factory leftovers, new paint job. Yeah, exactly right, Mick. You're on the board. No, I don't remember it at all. So.
Yeah. So again, it would have been, I think by this point, Warner would have been, these are the artists that are on our record labels. Pick songs that match the movie rather than having purposely made songs that like fit everything. And I just don't think it's a memorable soundtrack. The instrumental was fine. The orchestral score was fine, but the actual pop songs that went along with it, I don't remember having an impact on the chart or being related to this movie very much at all.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's called Batman and Robin, but you do have a third character. So it'd be funny if they said Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. So you could actually include that now if you wanted to. So,
well, the interesting thing about this was the hardest one to research, because if you look up Batman Returns, you find Batman Returns, and if you look up Batman Forever, you find Batman. You look up Batman and Robin, and every freaking piece of Batman merchandise ever comes up. So it probably wasn't thought like that at the time because of the internet not being as big as it is now. But it's got that up against it for people who are looking at it. And we come to the cards, and I didn't collect the Batman and Robin cards. I remember them being around, and I remember them being in clearance bins for years and years, and they didn't seem to go. They are a fine set of cards. I do like the character designs, like Dags was saying. Some of it looked fantastic. Poison Ivy, they obviously put a lot of work into her costumes. Mr. Freeze, I think it's a well-known story. He just about had a heart attack on the set because the costume was so heavy and so hot, which is funny considering it was meant to be Mr. Freeze, and he could only film like a couple of lines at a time and then had to get all out of it and be cooled down. That was a great design, and taken out of the movie as a design now, it is a really good Mr. Freeze like cryogenic outfit kind of thing that still really works. And what is good, it is totally different from everything that came before. And I can kind of say that's probably the one iconic design that came out of the movie. Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze is, if you take the movie aside, that's probably the most collected thing out of the movie, the Mr. Freeze character.
You can't half tell. The guy like Arnold is such a huge superstar. He wouldn't have given a shit if Adam had succeeded or not. He said, you know what, I'll come in and I'll do my lines, crack a few jokes, and then get my money and walk out. One of the things I loved about the fact I gave up collecting, I didn't have to buy trading cards. I didn't even see these. So I thought, oh, awesome. How good is that? And up the top here, what I was referring to earlier about the black and silver suits, which totally impractical, totally unnecessary, but they look pretty good. So... Yeah, it's exactly right. A freeze is coming. I know, just the amount of jokes. And ironically, of course, prior to this movie coming out, Batman the animated series had been released, and the Mr. Freeze in that was fantastic. They gave him a really serious backstory. They treated him with a lot of respect. And you go, you know what? I'm really dialed into it. And you go, oh, if they're going to do that in this movie, it'll be fantastic. And they just touched on a fraction, but the rest of it otherwise was just shits and giggles. So
what's interesting there is what Jess has said about why she liked Poison Ivy's costumes. I have seen documentaries where they talk to the costume designers, and they were amazing. And they did research on plants, and they used new material. And there was a lot of material at the time that wasn't common like it is now. And they were spray painting and airbrushing on material. And they looked at different plants for her hairstyle and stuff. And there was so much love and so much effort that went into it. You feel really sorry for them that, you know, they're just associated with, oh, that's all crap, because years of literal research and money and designing this stuff to put it together. So that's one of those reasons why, you know, even the movies that I don't like, I kind of respect them, because, you know, the costume designer on that put, you know, 2 years of their life into it, and the designs were great. It was just the movie let a lot of people down.
Yeah. More quotes. Everybody chill. Yeah, exactly right. Because his accent kind of helped as well, didn't it, really? So, yes.
And there's the print campaign for Batman and Robin. And again, it's one of those really interesting things where, because Val Kilmer had come and gone, and then you got George Clooney come in, it wasn't even treated as anything big. There's not a lot of interviews with George Clooney talking about Batman. I don't think he wanted to do the role. They pursued him and he did it, and it was kind of a bit of a joke for him, and he realized straight away it wasn't going to be a great movie. So a lot of the print is about Mr. Freeze and Schwarzenegger, and he obviously relished the role. I think Schwarzenegger did the role as Mr. Freeze, was happy to do it, got what he wanted out of it, which was millions of dollars, supported it, and that was it. But again, the print campaign, when I saw it, the posters were great, but everything else looked like a bit of a mix for me, because, you know, Batman was dark and Batman Returns sort of had the snow going through it, and Batman and Forever was green. This one just seemed like they chucked everything at the wall to see what stuck. So a lot of merchandise just looks messy.
Good comment from Rod that Batman actors were transient at that point. Ironically, this film makes Val Kilmer's Batman look better, because I didn't think George Clooney cut the mustard at all. And there's obviously, as we just discussed, he probably wasn't really up for it. But when you look at this, you go, oh, yeah, I'd rather have Val than George, given the option. So, and I think it was the first time we saw the whole suit is black. There's no yellow in it whatsoever. I'd have to go back and look at the Batman Forever design, but the logo in the center there is black for a change instead of yellow. So, but yes. And you can see Mr. Freeze's suit way up here. Yeah, it's a pretty serious piece of work, isn't it? So, yes. Sorry, hang on, give me a second. There's a comment here I've got to say. I've lost it. Oh, damn it. Yeah, anyway, don't worry about it. Move on.
Yep, but there was so much Batman and Robin merchandise, we just couldn't cover it all. There was everything. So here's just a montage of bits and pieces of different stuff we couldn't cover. I couldn't even get all the Kenner stuff in because they did accessory packs and things. The posters, they did blueprints. There was a Monopoly that came out for it. There was different figures at different sizes, cups, stationery. And that's where I find it turns a lot of collectors off, where they're going through the checkout and you see stickers and paper and stationery and things like that. And you're kind of thinking, this has got the Batman logo on and I have to buy it because I'm a collector, but none of this has anything to do with Batman. So they really did merchandise this to death, and I think it really killed the whole Batman brand for quite a while.
I love the Monopoly set down here. It actually says the collector's edition. It makes you wonder today if it really is. But yes, you are right. They went completely nuts at the time, and I was glad I got out of it.
And there we go. That's what it was all about at the end, the old credit card, the never leave the Batcave without it. And they even put it in the movie. So they really were sticking it to the fans from that point of view, I think. Exactly. And the crazy thing is you can get Batman credit cards with the bat symbol on. So that was the end of the movie cycle. But was it really the end? There was Batman Begins again, so everything that's old becomes new. But we're going to be moving off of Batman after our two massive shows over the last 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us. They really were fully loaded, but there was that much Bat merchandise to get through. We kind of thought it was justified.
People have been asking about a couple of the things that I've got, and I just wanted to bring this up before we wrap up the show. Somebody asked me about stuff that I've got in my fridge. Well, one of my pride and joys is my Batman Returns Batmobile. It's been there since 1992, so it turns 30 years old next year. Still mint in box from what do you call it? From the movie, which is kind of groovy. So there you go, just to show that's kind of shit. And I wanted to show you the oldest thing I've got, and I do actually have a photograph of it. I talked about it earlier. So these are the jellies and the chocolates from 1989. So they're now 32 years old. And
the crazy thing is I have a bag of those chocolates in my garage as well.
Oh, geez, in the garage, in like, oh, that'd be horrible by now. So there you go. Not that you're going to be planning to eat them, that's for sure.
Do you know what, Dags? Yours will be horrible too, I think, at that age.
Yeah, very good. These came up earlier. We're talking about the rice bubble packets. They're still sealed and complete. I forgot about the one on the right-hand side. But, yeah, they're the kind of thing I sort of do look back and go, whose idea was that to buy? That is freaking stupid. And I think there's one other item. I'll tell you sorry, what?
I had a question for you quickly before we go.
Yep.
Your one favorite piece of Batman merchandise, does anything stand out?
Oh, no.
One thing you go, that's the best thing.
Oh, I need to give me some warning.
Mine would be, it isn't from the time, I love my Hot Toys Joker of Jack Nicholson. I think that's an absolutely fantastic toy.
It's probably a piece of clothing, actually, a shirt or something that I've got. It wouldn't be a toy. There are things that I really love.
You used to have quite a cool Batman jacket, didn't you?
Yeah, I've sort of lost track of what I've got now. It's all a bit of a blur. You should have given me some pre-warning. I could have think about it. And I'm just going to finish with this one last thing. Yes, it would make you sick. But apparently sick, according to earlier in the show, is actually a really good thing. So go figure. I'm going to show you this one very, very quickly. So these are boxed cookies. They only came out about 15 years ago, right? And you go, no big deal. Who gives a shit? They're still mint in box. Yay. But the one on the right-hand side, right?
Yep.
My girlfriend at the time bought them for me. And it was great. It was a new relationship. It was absolutely fantastic. And I put them in the collection room. It's absolutely awesome. And then she broke up with me. So I thought, in a fit of spite, I bought another box of cookies, brand new ones. I got her ones, opened them up, ate them all, and threw the box out. How tragic is that? Very, very cool. Yes. Hang on, we have to go and have a look at the last thing. Snap Crackle was a green rice. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Sick as good as fully. You don't go. It's sick as good. It's fully sick, mate. Love it. Very, very groovy. All right, and there was hang on. Don't run away. This is a very important one. If I got to just find my eyes are starting to go on me now. There was a comment from Greg King. Oh, here we go. Doctor Who next week. Oh. Jesus Christ. Oh, Greg, seriously, dude, you're a worry, eh? So there you go. All right, I think, look at that, we're almost once again at 2 hours. So, but yeah, well, people sticking with us still, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's good to see. Any final words you want to mention before we sign off, Mr. Aaron?
Thanks for being along for the ride, everyone. I will be putting the gallery of all the pictures we used for the last 2 weeks up on the Sci-Fi Zone page in the next day or so. So if you do want a closer look at the merchandise, it will all be there in glorious colour. I think that's all. Did you have anything to add, mate?
No, I don't think so. I think we've all covered it off. We've got, plenty of things for people to look at. And if you haven't had a chance yet, to go to batmanme.com to check out the documentary and all the doodads that go with that if you want to learn more about the crap that I got myself into back in the day. But other than that, it's important that you just remember to keep all your collectibles mint in box.
And hopefully some of Greg King's cheaper things rock up this week and we can rip them off the card.
No, even the cheap things have to stay sealed. Okay, leave it to it. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.